Again, that's by 4:30 p.m. The difference with the questionnaire, though, is that you can submit that electronically. So with the nomination, that has to be done by paper submission to Metro Clerk's office. But once that nominee receives the questionnaire, which they'll receive via email most likely anyways, they can return that via email. They don't have to make another special trip down to Metro Clerk's office in order to make sure that that's submitted, as long as it's received by January 4th at 4:30. So the last date that we have is January 15th. And January 15th is actually kind of a floating date, but it is the expected date on which Metro Council will make their final determinations about who is on the board. If they find that we have 1,000 people apply, they may have to have a special meeting of Metro Council, so that date may flex. But right now, the target date is January 15th. So Metro Council, the way that they've explained to us preliminarily is that they'll basically follow a format that's similar to instant runoff voting, in the sense that each Metro Council member will pick the set of people that they would like to see, and those numbers will be compared to see who gets the most votes, and then they'll work down from that. And I can't explain that very well because I didn't understand it very well. But it seemed when they were explaining it that it actually does make the most sense to make sure that everyone has that opportunity to be discussed. Do you have any questions about the, or want to reiterate, Dave?
Yeah, at the end of the selection process, how many people are going to be sitting on the board in total?
Sure. It's 11 people. So 2 of those people will have to come from the mayor's nominations, and 2 will have to come from people that were nominated directly by Metro Council, but the rest of them will come from the community. And 4 of those 7 people remaining will have to reside in economically distressed areas. And that's another thing that Metro had started working on in advance, and we feel comfortable with the criteria that they're meeting for that. They're using 5 different metrics, so they'll mark whether or not people meet, how many of those metrics they meet. And so they'll first vote on people that will represent the economically distressed areas. But if you're not selected there and you do live in an economically distressed area, you can still be in the rest of that running. So it may be that 9 of the people that are on here do live in economically distressed areas, but at least 4 will.
Do the 50 signatures have to be from folks who are registered voters? And can a person who's formerly incarcerated serve on?
That's a good question. The end of the discussion was we're going to determine how that's going to be done. The suggestion was made for that. Right now, it is anyone who resides in the district.
Right. Yeah, the Metro Election Commission will not be involved in vetting whether or not you're a registered voter. So as long as you reside, at this moment, as long as you reside in Davidson County, your signature counts. And that's the same for board members, to be honest. We did not want to put any criteria on whether or not someone had been incarcerated, because people that have been incarcerated obviously have the most direct experience with policing and their policies. So we feel personally that someone with that background would actually bring a lot to the table. Any other questions? Yep.
What are they determining as economically distressed areas?
I didn't bring the worksheet with me, but there's 5 different ways that Metro utilizes for various purposes. One of them is when they design promise zones. Most often it's determined by a census tract, whether it's median income or average income of the area. And so because there are multiple ways that they utilize that across different organizations within Metro, we wanted to make sure that there was a good cross-section of that, because some of them would be limited to about 20 census tracts and others would be up to 50 to 60 census tracts. So it would kind of be an overlay that they would ultimately see of how many of those criteria you meet. And it may be that they would, they may at some point make a friendly amendment to the charter or make a resolution that would determine one of these methods. But right now what they'll do is they'll check out of these 5 criteria, how many of them that individual nominee meets. But I can let you, anybody can come and look at this if they want to. I'm not going to be the best at explaining it.
Yes.
Do you have to have already completed Citizens Academy?
No, that's part of the training that every board member will go through in advance, after they're confirmed.
Is there age limit? How old do you have to be?
Adults.
Yeah, we just require that you be an adult to sit on the board, so 18 and up, but other cities have actually utilized that to try to make it kind of trend younger. And sometimes as a double-edged sword, so we didn't write that into our amendment, but we did really strongly convey to Metro Council that what our intention is that the board would represent a broad cross-section of our community, so we're hopeful that they'll follow that guideline. Yeah.
Does the immigration status of the person nominated, is that an important factor? Like if they have DACA or if...
We did not write anything also into the amendment that someone has to be a naturalized citizen in order to serve on the board. Again, it may be that Metro Council or Metro Legal steps in at some point and says that there's some, requirement of that, but we did not write anything into it that requires that.
I know there were some challenges with petition submission to the clerk's office. Are there practices in place to make sure that everyone is able to submit their application?
Yes, during that meeting, it was confirmed that anyone that works in the clerk's office, is qualified to stamp your nomination. And if you would like to take more than one copy and have a stamp on both of those, that's perfectly okay as well to make sure. But yes, we did confirm that.
How long are the term limits?
So the initial board will be nominated for one term, but those board members,
term?
oh, I'm sorry, 1 year term, but those members are eligible to be re-elected. And so what we wanted to happen is that when the board is established, the board itself will determine how those terms are staggered, so that the whole board doesn't turn over at the same time. But they'll have the ability to do that once the board is established.
I just want
And beyond that is 3-year terms.
in terms of length of residency, is there like any requirement there? Because you have to have been a Davidson County resident.
Davidson County resident is the only requirement at this moment. Any other questions? So I'm just gonna run down the dates one more time so you can write them down, and then we will move along. So November 20th, they will open nominations. December 18th at 4:30 p.m., all nominations must be received. A questionnaire will be sent to all eligible nominees that they must return by January 4th at 4:30 p.m. And then hopefully on January 15th, the board nominees will be confirmed. Thank you.